Alright, so today's topic is the rationalization of crimes. Now, this is something that I talked about in many of my reports, in my books. I covered it in comments, in all sorts of posts. However, it is crucial to truly understand how rationalization of crimes works. This has been presented through examples, and usually it consisted of two people, person A, person B, or person A, person B, person C, depending on the situation. And every single time, in every example, it was shown how one of these people engaged in undesirable behavior toward someone else without having a just reason. That is the most important aspect. It is crucial to understand how human behavior works, and this is related to the previous topic that I covered, to how society can be conditioned to display psychopathic behavior. Now, in this case, in this situation, this is extremely easy to observe. It is extremely easy to notice. Because people exhibit the same behavior without any reason at all. In the context of this phenomenon, I exist. I simply go somewhere, or I go for a walk. I go to a specific place, to the gym, to the supermarket, to work, to school. It doesn't matter. I go somewhere, and as a result of being in proximity to other people make up false stories about me, following the same storyline that society had already made up. And based on these false stories, they commit crimes against me. They defame me on a global stage, they dehumanize me on a global stage, and so on. So that behavior is done with no just reason, because, and in this case, it is extremely easy to notice that because these people, they do not know me. So they see me for the first time, or they've been in the same community with me, but they did not speak to me. There was no interaction. There was no chance for a conflict to be created in order for there to be a reason for the psychopathic behavior, a just reason for the psychopathic behavior, which there never is. So, in this case, it can obviously be seen how these people exhibit that undesirable behavior, that criminal behavior, that psychopathic behavior for no reason. So they do that for no reason, and this is extremely obvious. However, that is not obvious in all cases, and this pattern repeated over and over again throughout this phenomenon. And generally, it is the same. However, there are different phases. There's a different environment. The stories might differ slightly, but the key concept at the core of this behavior is exactly the same in all cases. Now, in order to illustrate that, it is extremely important to understand how human behavior works in this case, and what is the normally expected response to such a situation. One of these patterns that has repeated the most consisted of one guy making up something about me that disrespected a girl. And then the girl's actions were always the same, regardless of who we're talking of. In absolutely all cases, the girl reacted the same. So she took that as an opportunity to make up more false stories about me that benefited her. And this has to do with the conditioning of society to exhibit this psychopathic behavior towards me in the first place. So that means that this girl or that guy, it doesn't matter, because it's the same situation over and over again. These specific people don't matter to explain the proof of concept. When we're talking about justice, then each situation matters, and each situation needs to be examined according to the specific details of that situation. However, when we're trying to when I'm trying to prove the concept of how this works, the exact people are not relevant because all the cases are the same. So now, when step number one, so that girl hears something negative that I supposedly said, but she doesn't know if I said that or not. So someone else made a post on a global stage, and they stated that I said something disrespectful about a girl, right? But I didn't say that. That person said that, and they used my name to say that. They claimed that I would have made that statement, but no one can know if that is true or false. So when this girl sees the disrespectful comments, right, and it doesn't matter what it is, it can be something about her body, it can be anything that seems disrespectful, insulting, or anything that is negative toward her. Now, when she sees that, she doesn't know if I did or said the respective things. There's no way for her to know that. So the follow-up action should never be to cause harm to someone who you don't even know if they're guilty or not, right? Because let's say there's not one person, there's 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, doesn't matter. So and they all say similar things, and all of them are disrespectful. All of them follow the same core behavioral patterns. So it is what is happening within this phenomenon. Everybody builds up their false stories, following the exact same core behavioral patterns at the core, and the same core behavioral patterns within the stories. So when these girls, so now this is just an example. So a guy makes up something about me that disrespects a girl, but this type of situation applies to all demographics and to all situations. But this is just an example. So that girl sees the disrespectful comments, and now this is crucial. What's her reaction to that? It is not normal to simply assume that that I did or said the disrespectful things, because there's no way for her to know that. And that is a simple concept. It is called presumption of innocence. That is why people who are not proven to be guilty, the people who are not proven to be guilty do not get sent to prison, because in the scenario in which they are innocent, this is irreparable. So it is worse to send an innocent person to prison than to let a guilty person walk. Now, this concept applies to everyday life as well. So in this case, these people are committing crimes against me, but this should apply to normal situations in life. So this applies also outside of this phenomenon. When you think that someone in your group of friends or family or whatever did something, you should never just jump to conclusions and assume that they did, and then exhibit undesirable behavior toward them, because if they're innocent, this is irreparable. You cannot take that back. Now, the same concept applies here. So these girls see the disrespectful comments or actions, whatever they are, right? And then their reaction 100% of the times was the same. It was to commit harm against me while using the pretext of revenge. And then that repeated over and over again, and the pattern is the same. They're different faces, they're different people in different locations, different environment. The negative things might be slightly different. Someone might say that I made disrespectful comments. Someone else might say that I did something that was disrespectful. It doesn't matter. The concept is the same. So the girl says that something that's supposedly disrespectful was done or said, but she doesn't know if I'm guilty or not. But in all cases, in 100% of cases, the reaction is to cause harm to me without knowing if I am guilty or not, and without verifying that fact. And that is crucial. The verifying the facts, when you have the opportunity to do so, it is absolutely essential. It is a normal reaction to to this situation. So when when you know that someone has done something negative to you, but you don't know exactly who that someone is, and you think it is that person because look, someone else said that Paul, so that I did something or said something, the reaction should be to verify the facts. And there are plenty of ways to do this. But not one person did this, not one person even considered giving me the presumption of innocence. Not once. And there are hundreds of examples. And this goes outside of this situation that I presented with a guy and a girl. I only presented this because this is one of the most common situations, but this applies to everything. The pattern of someone saying something negative about me that disrespects someone else, and that person causing me harm without verifying if I am innocent or not, that repeats over and over, and it keeps repeating. Now, that is not the expected reaction. You cannot do this if you think I don't know, if you think that your neighbor stole from you. So then you're not sure. You have no idea if they did, but you think that they did, and then you go there and you beat them up real good, and then you find out that they actually did not steal from you. Then what happens? Your neighbor did nothing, but you become a criminal because of what you did. And this is basic common sense. This should not be needed for me to explain this to anyone. And society knows this, and this is crucial to understand how this phenomenon works. Because it is exactly the same. It is exactly the same. If you think someone did something bad, but you don't know for sure, and you don't verify the facts, and you go and you cause harm to that person, you're 100% responsible for that harm. And that has to do with you. You just have to think things through and know that your actions have consequences, and if you commit crimes, you're guilty of these crimes, and you cannot just rationalize the harm done when you had the chance to do the right thing, to verify the facts, and you chose not to, but you chose to cause that harm, to commit those crimes, and you're guilty of these crimes, and there is no way to justify that. There is no way. So what if there was a security camera and I could check if the neighbor stole from me, but I didn't want to. I just decided that the neighbor is guilty, and I went there and beat him up. Is it normal? It is not normal. It is not the right course of actions. It is exactly the same situation. It is the exact same situation. So, using the previous example, once again, someone says something about me that is disrespectful to a girl, and the girl decides not to verify the facts, even though she can do that. At any time she can do that, but she decides not to. And then she commits more crimes against me, and she uses the false stories that someone else made up about me that disrespected her to rationalize her crimes. And that is not normal. It is never normal to do that. The presumption of innocence is a very important concept that applies to this situation as well. Once you commit a crime, once you defame someone, once you dehumanize someone, once you cause harm to someone, you're guilty of what you did. And it doesn't matter how you rationalize that, because no one forces you to do that. You're not in extreme psychological distress and you have no choice. It's not self-defense. It's not any situation that justifies that kind of behavior. You're not exposed to continuous torture. There's nothing that justifies such a behavior, such a response. That is a psychopathic response. That is simply using the pretext of your victim. That is just using the pretext that someone might have caused harm to you, to cause harm to them for an expected reward. And that is what happens now. So it can be proven, both as a proof of concept generally for all cases, and in each individual case, that this is how people thought things through. Not one person decided to take revenge because they truly thought that I was guilty. Not one person. Not one. All of them saw the same thing, an opportunity to get an expected reward for committing crimes against me, and rationalizing those actions using the disrespectful things that were said about them in my name, without verifying the facts, when 100% of people had the possibility to verify the facts. That is extremely simple to understand. It is crucial. It is absolutely crucial to understand the proof of concept first, and then to apply it to each and every situation. And when you dive in each and every situation, all the details prove this. I have evidence to prove that everyone lied, and I have evidence to prove that everyone's actions were psychopathic. None of them were none of them accidentally did this because they got angry. Everything was thought through. Everything was done for the expected reward in absolutely all cases. They saw an opportunity and they took it. But there was a psychopathic type of an antisocial type of opportunity where they caused harm to an innocent person because they could, for an expected reward. That is what happened. It is extremely simple. This is the situation. It happened in absolutely all cases. 100% of people could verify the facts. 100% of people decided not to do that. 100% of people decided to commit crimes against me and to cause extreme harm for no justified reason. And as explained, this phenomenon is complex. This is just one aspect. Society generally tries to rationalize everybody's crimes in order to reject these atrocities. And that happens in using disinformation tools and the delusional system that society built up to match its convenient reality, its convenient delusions. It created this non-existent world that was built up just with lies. Every brick that it used to build up its wall consists of lies that everybody made up daily because that was convenient to society. And every time the truth is presented to it, it will do anything to keep it out of its convenient psychotic babble where their atrocities don't exist. And again, this is a complex phenomenon, and this is just one aspect, but it is a crucial aspect because it proves the truth. So once again, the theory is there, and it is proven that it's not how anyone should react to disrespectful comments. Generally in life and in the context of this phenomenon, because everybody is responsible for their actions, and if you cause harm to someone who is innocent, that is irreparable. And if you cause harm to someone who's guilty, that is also irreparable, and you're responsible for their actions. You're responsible for your actions. It doesn't matter if you think that I'm guilty or innocent. No one had the right to do everything that they did. No one had the right to commit crimes against me, to defame, to dehumanize me, to harm me, to destroy my life and my reputation and my identity, and to cause the extreme suffering that they did through their actions. No one had the right to do that. There is nothing to debate. This is how the world works. Everybody is responsible for their actions. That was not self-defense. That was not a desperate action in the middle of torture, where there was no other way, where there was nothing, where people were conditioned to do this. No, there wasn't any of that. It was not something that happened out of a desperate situation, out of extreme pain, out of extreme psychological distress. None of them apply. Well, the conditioning part applies, but not as a result of a justified series of actions. So their psychopathic behavior was predictable. They were conditioned to display that behavior, but not for a just reason. 100% of people decided to commit crimes when none of them should have done that, because that's not the normal response. When, again, using the example of stealing, if something disappears from your room and you have a feeling that your neighbor took that object, and you go to your neighbor and you beat them up because you're sure of it, it doesn't even matter if they're guilty. You're guilty of beating them up. But what if they're innocent? That you're even guiltier. Your action is even more execrable. It's even more despicable. There's no way to justify it. You will try to rationalize things and say that I was sure I had all the evidence and it seemed like it was that way, but I didn't know and I went and did the bad thing anyway. And that makes you guilty when someone thinks like that. Well, it doesn't change the situation. You are responsible for your actions. Now, what society is trying to do is simply divide the blame between people in such a manner that the blame is dispersed to the extent that no one is considered fully guilty and no one pays for their crimes. And they just pretend that the situation is unfortunate and that nothing can be done and that it is just the way it is and that is that. But that is not true. That is part of society's disinformation campaign. It is extremely simple. All tools of disinformation that could be used were used. And at the end of the day, society rejects the existence of their crimes. It rejects the existence of their psychopathic behavior that was behind every single crime that was committed. They reject the existence of the horrifying consequences of these crimes. And that is unacceptable. That applies to every aspect of this phenomenon. And there are things that society cannot reject the existence of. There are things that have been there and they simply cannot pretend that they weren't. In the case of false stories, even if definitive evidence is provided that everybody lied, it doesn't matter because society will create even more false stories presenting the exact same core behavioral pattern and then pretend that it wouldn't matter if some people lied because I would supposedly exhibit that behavior anyway, which is false. I never do. All the stories are false, but society builds up its disinformation campaign, its delusional system, more and more, and every time the truth is presented, every time common sense and evidence are presented, the reaction is the same. It is a reaction of anger. How can our innocent victim stand up for himself? We have to put him back down. We have to consolidate our convenient delusions even more, and we will make up false stories every day to make that reality. And that happened regarding everything. Now, nothing is justified, but this is what society does. And regarding those things that they cannot reject the existence of, such as the dehumanization when they took my face and they put it on a dog's body and humiliated me in horrifying manners over and over again on a global stage, and people were rewarded for doing that. There's no way to justify that. It doesn't even matter if people would have thought that I would have been guilty of crimes or whatever. That is never justified. There's no way to rationalize that. When people do this kind of thing and they cause this amount of harm and destruction of someone's identity and they take away all dignity and they show zero respect, then that is not right, and that is a violation of human rights. When it is done to that extent, it is 100% of the time a crime. Now, how can you rationalize that? You cannot, but society found a way. They created their delusional system in such a manner to portray me as this horrible criminal who's mentally ill and capable of anything and has no moral boundaries and rapes people, steals people, harasses everybody and so on. And they created that delusional system out of nothing because I never exhibited those behavioral patterns. But it didn't matter because society built up its delusional system anyway. Once they done that, they said, look, he did all those things and it is morally justified to dehumanize him in that manner considering how bad of a person he is. And everybody wanted that to be the truth. That is why everybody made up the same types of false stories every single day, presenting the same horrifying core behavioral patterns. Because that's who society wanted me to be, in order for society to rationalize its atrocities, its crimes committed against me. And everybody who made up false stories to portray me as such was rewarded in order to condition everybody to do the same, because that is what society wanted. And this goes on, once again, the blame. That society tries to disperse the blame to as many people as possible and pretend that everybody would have had a just reason to commit the crimes, and they blame it on each other, and in such a manner that the blame is simply dispersed, and it goes to many people, and then everybody says that it was some sort of unfortunate situation, and the final objective is for no one to pay for their crimes. That is the final objective, and to consider it some sort of unfortunate situation indeed, but not so unfair that it would justify any action, because that's what society wants. It wants to say that it didn't commit the atrocities that it committed, and it created one of the most complex and disgusting delusional systems to ever exist in the history of our species to achieve that goal. And that is incredible, but in the most negative manner possible. Rationalizing crimes should not be society's response. Going back to the example with the neighbor, if I think someone stole something and I go and beat my neighbor up because I think that they did it, and then I find out that they didn't do it, and then I beat them up for nothing. Forget the legal side for a moment, but think about morality. What do you do next? Do you make up false stories about your neighbor to portray them as the worst human being possible in order to rationalize beating them up, in order to tell people that, yes, I beat them up, but they're such a bad person that it doesn't even matter. It was justified for me to do that. No, I should do that. It is inhumane, it is psychopathic. But that is the behavior of society. 100% of people reacted like that. That is what society did. And that it is extremely simple. This is proven science. It is a fact how people should react to this sort of situations. And people's reactions prove to the greatest possible extent that none of them felt disrespected. None of them wanted revenge for anything. The core reason, the only reason behind their psychopathic, behind their criminal actions, is the psychopathic intention of wanting to cause harm for the expected reward. And this is how this phenomenon was created. With the expected reward that was given for committing crimes against me, for disrespecting me, for humiliating me, for dehumanizing me. That is how this phenomenon was created, and it kept going in the exact same manner. The patterns were the same from day one. They're the same patterns of how this phenomenon functions, and I presented a few aspects to you in this video. And this is very simple to understand, that there's no way to rationalize crimes against someone who you do not even know they're guilty. There's no reason to commit crimes against anyone for any reason, even if they would be guilty. If they would be guilty, you would sue them, you would do something else, but committing crimes against them is not the correct answer. Dehumanizing them, defaming them on a global stage is not acceptable, regardless of what you thought. But no one, once again, no one thought of this as revenge or some sort of a justified action. That is just a pretext. It's a pretext used to rationalize crimes that have been committed for one reason and one reason only. An expected reward that was paid out 100% of the time. And I can't do that once access to society's delusional system is provided, once justice is allowed to take place in a court of law. I can prove this in each and every case. Once again, I have the evidence to prove that everyone lied, and I have the evidence to prove that everyone lied and everyone committed all the crimes that they committed for an expected reward or for other psychopathic, immoral reasons, and not one person did this because of something that society could refer to as morally correct. Well, it's never morally correct, but it's somewhere in a gray area where there could be arguments for reacting like that, but that never happened in this case, not once. 100% of people committed their crimes and immoral actions for psychopathic reasons. 100% of them. And I can prove that in a court of law. Once again, I can prove more than just that they committed the crimes. I can prove that they committed the crimes and that everybody committed the crimes with psychopathic intention. I can prove the horrifying consequences of the crimes, which are also not admitted to exist within society's delusional system. And if everything is taken into account, their actions are criminal to the extent that the majority of them should be in prison. You don't just say that because of frustration or what other reason you came up with. I've already explained this. I'm able to detach myself from the situation and see it for what it is and be unbiased. See things exactly as they are. And if you're looking at the entire situation, this is how horrifying it is. The crimes, they're not just summarized by false stories. It's not just someone making up something extremely insulting that you'd probably hear in your primary school and then that is that. It is not that. It is people making up horrifying false stories, presenting core behavioral patterns that I never exhibited, that are extremely defaming, and they support past actions such as actual criminal accusations. And these things are posted on a global stage where the audience is larger than the national news in the majority of countries. It goes all over the world, and everybody sees it, and I'm labeled based on these false stories for the rest of my life and for much longer after I will be dead. When people will look back and will ask who was Paul Mary, and all they're going to see will be those false stories, those false defaming stories that have nothing to do with who I am. And going beyond that, the dehumanization, the disrespect, the humiliation that resulted from these stories, they caused so much harm that it is illogical not to consider their actions criminal. You can check every document that was ever made containing human rights will prove this. My human rights and my fundamental human rights were violated in extreme manners. And the criminal code of the majority of countries will confirm this as well. Their actions are criminal according to the law. And even in countries where their actions cannot be categorized based on a specific crime, their actions are still criminal, and the goal is not to try to rationalize their crimes and their psychopathic behavior and the horrifying consequences that the crimes had. The goal is to obtain justice. That is why the justice system was created. And what society is doing right now is rejecting the existence of its atrocities and protecting and rewarding the main criminals guilty of these atrocities while laughing in the victim's face. And there's an entire series of atrocities and irreparable injustices that I've covered in past videos and reports. But the final goal of this is to obtain justice. I'm not just angry and shouting and posting repeatedly that these criminals need to go to prison. I'm saying that because it is true. Because their actions represent crimes, and combined with the psychopathic intention and the horrifying consequences, I will never be a human being with equal human rights and a human being who is entitled to justice, to respect, and to dignity if these people don't pay for their crimes. And that is not because of some sort of psychological mechanism that causes frustration and causes me to say these things. This is because what I say is true and can be proven to the greatest possible extent in court. That is what this is about. It's about obtaining justice. And everything that I say can be proven right now in a court of law. And I have the evidence to prove it. And the other part of the evidence is on a private global group that society created, and many other digital environments where the crimes have been committed. And once you put all those things together, my evidence with and the actual evidence of the crimes having been committed, the exact text, the exact defaming text, the exact dehumanizing posts, and so on. Once you put everything together and you get it in a court of law, there will be not much to debate. Most of the things will be extremely straightforward, and my evidence will prove the truth definitively, and there will be no argument. This is how those things are going to play out. And there isn't anything to debate. The one thing that needs to happen is to allow justice to happen in the court of law, and that starts with nullifying the illegal deal, the illegal processes that the corrupt government legalized. They legalized crimes against me. They took away my human right to defend myself in a court of law, to accuse other people of committing crimes against me, that was the only reason when all these thousands of people committed crimes against me. That is it. I already explained this. When the government makes it official that a segment of the population, or in this case one person, is less of a human being than everybody else and has less human rights, society will adapt to that almost instantly and treat that segment of the population or that individual in that manner. This is what happened. I explained it in the last video. It is not normal to keep trying to rationalize your crimes and immoral actions and protect the main criminals that you rewarded for exhibiting that criminal and psychopathic behavior. That is not a normal response. Not from a society that is supposed to be within the moral boundaries that it created. Our legal systems are based on these moral boundaries, or on these essential concepts that everybody should respect. Everybody should follow these concepts. What society is doing right now, it's irreparable, and it is despicable. This is pretty much it for this video.